Good morning. Today you are ready for the presentation. We will take it after the lesson, right? So a few hours that we before the break. Just something about which the topic on this topic, right? Then we will know to the presentation. So now we have according to the order of presentation, you are good. You will give the first opportunity to the online group, right, to make their presentation according to the order, right? Group is the online group, right? It will be available, right? They are related, right? And we can each other groups, right? According to the given order. So, right, so this morning you do the discussion on the international trade, right? So today we are going to talk about the international trade, right? So out here basically we have today and another one more week we have, right? So we will talk about this international trade and the balance of payment and the exchange rate, all these things, right? So the next week also we will continue this discussion, right? And we will finish the discussion next week onwards, right? So now today we are going to talk about the international trade, right? So you know the trade, right? So now here these are the learning outcomes that we expect at the end of this discussion, right? So we will be able to understand the concept of international trade, right? And also the physical units of when we say the trade, right? We know that there are two internal and the external trade, the domestic trade and the international trade, right? We will talk about that, right? And then we will go to the theories. Some theories, right? We are not going to talk about all the theories, right? Basic theories we will talk about, right? So in the international trade, right? So that talk about the gains from trade, right? And benefits that pass to the countries, right? Trading partners, right? As a result of the trade, right? Discuss under the trade theories, right? So then we will talk about the one important concept in terms of trade, right? And then some barriers imposed, the restrictions imposed by various countries, right? International trade, right? So that shows you you'll be able to get some understanding about those barriers, right? Basically the tariff, right? And the non-tariff barriers, right? So we just go through all these valid restrictions, different restrictions, right? Just highlight the things, right? We are not going to talk about more on those areas, right? But a little bit we'll talk about on the tariff. We also have some understanding regarding the tariff, right? So that we may discuss under the demand supply model as well, so like government intervention. They also highlight things under the taxes, right? So that is those are the taxes. Here the international, when it comes to the international trade, we call it as tariff, right? That's a part of it. The restrictions to get more benefits for the trading countries, right? So they use these restrictions, right? So we get some understanding about this depending on the time availability, right? So those are the areas that we will focus under this discussion, right? And first we look at what is the international trade, right? Trade, right? So you know that when we talk about the international trade, that is very important, right? Sometimes we recognize the importance of the international trade, right? So when we talk about the economic growth, right? with growth, you know that increases the productive capacity, increases the output, no, right, for GDP over the period of time, right? So that may be basically encouraged with the international rate. Okay, the rate, right? So we know that when you talk about the international rate, the idea, right? Forms of the international rate mainly talk about after like 60s onward, right? With the development of with the with the change in the economic thinking, right? In the world, right? So knowledge, right? So earlier, actually, before 1960s, right? People talk about this outward oriented, right? So that means imposing restrictions, right? And without integrating with the other nations, no, right? So they are those countries try to solve their problems by themselves, right? So that means inward looking policies, no, right? Basically, the policies when you talk about, you know that we can talk about these inward looking and the outward looking policies, no, right? Inward looking means now you know that in our country also we experienced in 19, especially some period in 1960s and even 1970s, no, right? These inward looking policies, especially sometimes you don't know, right? So 1970s, right? Under the Sima Bandar period, the SLP government, right? So rigid controls introduced, closed economic policies, right? Under that period, 70 to 77, right? So they are actual basic ideology, basic policies, ISR, import, substitution, industrialization, right? So those are the two policies that we now talk about, right? These ISI and the export promotion, right? So something now these are actually we take the export promotion that is in line with the international trade, but ISI strategy is not in line with the international trade, right? Free trade, right? It is opposite, against the free trade. Imposing some restrictions on imports, right? And developing our own industries, right? To meet the demand in the domestic economy, right? Import substitution, industrialization. Substitution. Right? So that is something imposing restrictions, right, on international trade. Right? So that is against the free trade that we talk about under these theories, right? But you know, to get more benefit to the countries, right, and to solve our problems by ourselves, right? The government introduce these kind of policies. Different countries introduce these kind of policies, right? So basically, those are coming under the trade policies, right? Commonly we talk about, right? Now the policies, you don't have some idea, but when you talk about it in your degree, you may talk about in other proceedings, right? Sometimes, right? Those policies, right? Even in the macroeconomics, you have some sort of understanding about the macroeconomic environment and so on, right? So the macroeconomics, basically, the one part is the policy-oriented part, right? Apart from this analysis of the major macroeconomic variable, right? And macroeconomics, there is another part, right? They give the policies, right? And discuss their implications. Right? So macroeconomics, mostly the policy-oriented part, the most, right? More focused on the policy, right? Those policies we can discuss, you know, that fiscal, monetary, trade, commercial policy, right? So you heard about the fiscal and the monetary policy, right? But there are other types of policies, right? Trade policies and the commercial policies, right? Basically, trade policies right? So we can talk about these export promotion policy, import substitution policy, also. And the commercial policies under that, these are other types of restriction fees. So that is something about this industrial. I mean, this one has industrialization policy. This industrialization part mainly deviate from the ISI or the export promotion. Right. Talk about industrialization fund from that to ISI. Countries use export promotion industrialized. Right. So basically, ISI strategy mostly countries in the world right before 1960. But after 1960s, mid of 1960s and getting up to the 70s onward, right? Most of the countries with the globalization process, right? Moving to the export promotion, free trade, right? So open up the economy, open economic policy. They call it as some reforms, structural adjustment policies, with the IMF and the World Bank, especially the those organization, international monetary organization also promote those strategies, right? Especially the liberalization policy, right? So we talk about the liberalization policies after 1970s, right? So we also integrate into these policies after 1977, right? With the USC came into power, right? After 1977 and onwards, right? After that, time to time, we introduced this liberalization or the so-called structural adjustment policies, right? So those are the trade under the free trade. One part of that we can identify the free trade, right? So broadly, we talk about this liberalization policy, right? So there are so many things under the liberalization policy that we highlight. Maybe the tax reforms, right? Disciplines, privatization, right? Trade liberalization, financial liberalization, all these things coming under the finance is called the liberalization policy, right? So anyway, now these are the two basically you can keep in your mind, right? Under the industrialization policy, right? So we have the two broad policies, ISI and the export promotion, right? So ISI is actually something, it's against the free trade, but export promotion basically part of the free trade, no? Currently producing for the foreign market, no? Right? They say you know that in after 77 onwards, right? So in our country also we introduce an institutional setup and promote export, no? Right? Some export processing zones, no? Right? So those institutes, especially with the establishment of the BOI, before that Great Economic Commission, no? Right? Under that it promote the export, right? Especially that is coming under this liberalization policy, right? Okay, right? So when we talk about this international trade, right? So that is part of this liberalization, right? So as I mentioned, after 1977 onwards, right? Most of the countries, right? Now we know that introduce these kind of policies, right? In order to integrate in the world economy, right? Encouraging import and export, right? So we talk about the free trade after that, right? So after, but that process further strengthening with the after 1990s, you know that with the decline in the socialism, right? With the decline in the socialism and development of the capitalist system, right? That Russian Federation collapsed, right? 1990s, right? So as a result of that, you see the globalization that's been integrating the world economy, right? Into one market we call it as, right? thing, right? So most of the countries use this globalization policy and integrate with the globalization. No? What are the now the channels that we discussed? So in the globalization, so, right? Should we play into the one market, so, right? So there, one part we can identify the international trade as the one source. Let's say, right? We can identify different channels apart from this international trade, right? That promote the globalization. And this is started especially the top agenda after 1990 onwards, no? After the top agenda, no? With the decline in the socialism system, right? So what are the channels? How this globalization process went all over the world. One channel is the international trade, right? Trade rates, right? So that is the most important channel, right? International trade, ID, right? So what are the other channels? Do you have any idea? You have any idea? Integrating the world economy into one market. So what are the channels of mechanism that promote the globalization? One thing is the international trade. Right? So the countries produce, earlier they produced for their own consumption, no, right? And with this development of these theories, and after that onwards, right? After that, we talk about the export and import, no, right? So trading with other nations, no, right? Without any restrictions, no, right? So that's why the World Trade Organizations also established, no, right? In order to promote the free trade among the nations, no, right? So that's the main purpose, right? So what are the other channels? Other one is the capital, no, right? Capital growth, no, right? Foreign direct investment and portfolio investment, no, right? So that is another channel, no, right? So we also get foreign direct investment, no, as right? You know that China, no, right? For the other countries, no? So recipient countries, FTI, right? And leading countries in the foreign direct investments, no, right? America, right? So this FDI, no, right? Foreign direct investment and the portfolio investment. Portfolio, share market investment, no, right? So that's why we, Sri Lanka also promote after 1977, no, FDI, no, right? Introduce so much of reforms and relaxations, no, tax reforms, tax rebates, tax concessions, no, right? Infrastructure facilities development, right? So, and in order to attract more and more foreign investment, right? But we were successful in that case, no, right? So, getting the foreign direct investment attraction to the country, no, right? Very not significant, no, right? As a percentage of GDP, you take them, right? So, what are the other channels? What are the other channels? So, other one is the technological development, no, right? Technological development and mass communication. Communication, mass communication. Mass communication, no, like this development of this communication systems and so on, no, right? So that's why the innovative products also develop afterwards, right? Especially the financial sector, if you take, no, right? Like financial innovations, no, right? So we talk about the innovations, like money transfers, no, right? So you can easily transfer money, no, right? One destination to another destination, right? And this development of these other facilities, no, right? So later on, right? Even the internet and so on, right? All these things we talk about as a part of this technological development, right? And the other one, intercountry migration, right? Migration, right? People move right here and there, right? Especially the skilled labor, right? Professionals, right? Right. We talk about that, right? It is as a part of the globalization that promotes the globalization, right? It's a country migration, skilled labor, people, and so on, right? So those are the channels, right? So that promote the globalization, right? So under that, we can identify this international trade, the imports component, right? Which facilitate for the globalization, right? So that's why we highlighted, and most of the countries adopted, right? The trade, right? Especially with the trading with other nations, right? As a result of that, right? Especially after 1970s, 80s, and onwards, right? So, what is the trade, right? We need to talk about this trade, right? So that means we are talking about the international trade, of course, the countries, right? Trade with other nations, right? So that is the international trade, right? So now here we see, right, in the domestic trade in the other part of that, right? And the international trade. We are producing not for the domestic market, right? We produce for the international market, right? So there we see market participants. Basically, this we are exporting and we are importing, right? We see the exporters and the importers, right? So those are the market participants basically we see, right? But when we trade with the, unlike the domestic trade, right? If we trade with the other nations, what happens? It's actually a very complicated process, right? We need to find the customers, right? And we didn't see the customer. There is no face-to-face contact, right? But then we need to make the payments and receive the payments, right? With the consignment, right? So with the shipping and so on, right? That is risky business, right? One side, right? There was some sort of arrangement also there, right? In order to minimize the risk, right? So in that process, banks also engage, right? International trade. And commercial banks, the financial intermediaries, right? Play an important role in international trade, right? So we can identify because bank facilitate for the trade. Basically, some sort of instruments are there, especially now you may heard about the rock credit, right? And the documentary we call it credits, right? Right? And what we call document against acceptance payments like that. Some methods are there, right? In order to minimize the risk associated with this international transaction, especially the payment financing side, right? So the bank will facilitate, right? Even bank will facilitate all other cases, finding the customers and all the other things, right? And bank providing credit facilities for the exporters, importers, right? So packaging and all these things, banks facilitate, right? So those are, that is another area, right? Anyway, so in international trade, right, this we see the exporter and the importer, right? And the banks also intermediate, right? Provide services, right, for the exporters and the importers, right? In order to do this business, right? More transparent, right? Way and minimizing the risk, right? Right. So right. That is the thing, right? So that is another part, right? We talk about this one under the international banking, right? Those things when we talk about, right? Even in international finance, right? We talk about these areas, right? So that is the part, right? You can remember, right? So this in this process, banks engage mainly, right, in trading, right? So providing services for the exporters and the importers, right? Right. So then when we talk about the nature of the trade, right? We can identify the domestic trade and the international trade. So what kind of differences we see the domestic trade and the international trade. So you know, now when you come to the domestic trade, what are the things that you can highlight? So that within the geographical area, right? Right, right. So the lowest applicable same law, right? There is no big difference, no, right? There is no confusions, no, about the rules and regulations, right? And also the currency, we use the domestic currency, no, right? Likewise, you can identify the nature of the trade in international when you compare with the international trade. So what are the main things that you can highlight in the domestic trade? Basically, common language, no, right? And the culture, there is no cultural difference, no, right? Same, right? So you are dealing with that. When you go to the international market, right, you need to look at all these aspects, no, right? So even the language and the cultural differences, no, right? Traditional customs and so on, right? So these things, right? And the law applicable, no, right? To domestic law, right? And there is no custom, no, right? Formalities, no, right? In the domestic trade, no, right? Right. And the documentation part, when it comes to the documentation, it's simple, no, right? It's not complicated, no, internal trade, right? So the documentation part is not complicated and it is simple documentation. And the currency used, right? We use the single currency, no, right? Internal trade, right? So domestic currency we use, right? And the regarding the transport facilities and so on, right? Between the buyer and seller, I can arrange, no, right? That is also not complicated, no, right? So the regarding the when it comes to the transport facilities, no, it's simple, no, right? So those are the things that we can highlight in the domestic trade, right? So when it comes to the foreign trade, right, what you can highlight? So if we are unlike the domestic trade, right, when you go to the foreign market, no, right, you need to be very careful, no, right? You need to face the challenges there, right? Right, especially in the international market, right? So you have to look at these marketing aspects, no, right? And maybe the how you market your products, no, right? International market, right? Very costly, no, right? And the customs rules, we need to comply with the custom rules, no, right? Right. And legal requirements, those countries, no, right? You need to comply with the legal requirements as well as the countries if we are moving, right? To exports, right? Destinations to other countries, right? So there are legal requirements. You need to comply with those legal requirements, right? And transport is not simple as domestic trade, no, right? Because sometimes you have to use multi-mode transportation mode, right? Right, multi-mode transportation, right? For the single, right? So international, then you need to use the domestic transport facilities as well, no, in those countries, no, right? Moving to the correct person, right? So why, right? There actually we see the complex in the transport systems, no, right? Different transport modes, right? Shipping, airline maybe, right? And railway transport in the domestic foreign country, you have to use sometimes, right? Other transport modes, right? So we have to use, right? So that's why we say relatively complex transport, multi-mode transportation, right? And also the exchange currencies, no, right? So there's a risk, no, right? Because we are dealing with the other countries, no, other nations, no, right? Different currencies we use, no, right? Not the domestic currency, no, right? Foreign currency, no, right? And the risk associated with the currency, no, exchange rate, no, right? That also need to be taken into account, right? In exporting, right? That's why we use sometimes the forward contract, no, right? Trade forward contracts, no, all these things, no, in order to minimize those risks, no, sometimes we may need those contracts, no, right? In the banks, no, right? So there's a currency, different currencies used, right? So and the exchange rate is also there, right? So that's why exchange rate risk management is very important, right? That inflation, right? So risk management, right? And the risk to the buyer, no, right? We are exporting, no, right? Sometimes the importer or the buyer will not make the payment, no, right? Right. There may be high risk, no, right? Default, no, right? Under the passive, but no payments, no, right? But even other side, no, we when we import the goods, no, right? Sometimes the consignment is different, no, right? That is not match with our requirements, no, right? There can be risk, no, right? So all these things need to be solved, right? And sometimes we actually this exporter and the importer, right? So transaction will take place, right? Because of this, they are what you call this trust, no, right? Trust also very important, no, right? Accordingly, the payment method also different, right? Sometimes if there is a good trust between the buyer and seller, right? So the buyer will make the payment early as possible, right? Before the goods made the shipment, right? Before the shipment, right? So that means payment in advance, right? Like different methods are there, right? Depend that also depends on the trust, right? But there may be a high risk, no, right? Before this there, right? Because we don't know each other, no, right? So if we have the long-term experience, no, right? Long-term interaction with the buyer and seller, right? So that the risk is minimized, right? With the development of the trust, right? But mostly we move to the customers, different customers, new customers, right? We identify the internal market, right? So unknown parties are there, right? So they may be a list, right, of this, right? And the government policies, no, right? So the actions, no, right? That also impact, no, right? We don't know what happened, no, so if there's a like we talk about the war situation, no, right? If there is a war, right, totally, so the situation changed suddenly, no, right? No, right? Because of this government action, no, right? Trade also affected, no, right? As a result of that. We experience all these things under the international trade, right? So it's a complicated process, right, compared with the domestic trade, no, right? And you see the complications, right, when you look at all these aspects, no, right, regarding these some rules and the transport, legal requirements, exchange rates, right, all these things, right? Right. So what are the parties? You can just move, right? Different parties are there, no, in the international trade. So we know the buyer, right? And we place the orders, right? We import goods, no, right? We are the buyer, right? And we are the importers, right? And the seller is other side there, right? Maybe he may be the manufacturer or the exporter, no, right? Sometimes we can see the manufacturers also, right? So your seller does not take the orders, right? He take the it from the manufacturers products, right? So those parties are there. Apart from that, so the airline shipping companies, no, right, take part of this, right? And the insurance companies take part of this process, right? And also government embassies are there, no, right? Uh, we need to get the permission, no, right? Right? When you're exporting or importing, right? Sometimes you may need to get the permission as well, right? And the license, no, right? You need to get the license also, right? You cannot export or import, right? Goods, right? Sometimes you need to get the permits, no, right? License from the relevant authorities, no, right? Yeah, importing or export, right? So therefore, you need to meet with those, comply with those requirements, no, right? In the respective organization, right? Maybe the there are some organizations, if you you import the drugs, right? Right. There are organizations, so you need to get the permission, right? So likewise, right? So there are specific institutions responsible for those rules, right? So sometimes you need to comply with those rules and regulations, right? And obtain the license and right? And the customs, excise, right? All these things, and even the lawyers, so you need to make, there's a contract, right? Buy and sell it, right? So it is a buy and sell, right? This is a contract, right? So you need to get the support of the lawyers. The agents really there, right? Between the export and the importer, right? So some agents are there, right? Perform their intermediate roles, right? And the Chamber of Commerce, right? The certificate of origin, right? So that need to be obtained from the Chamber of Commerce, right? And the other important part is the banks, right? So banks also pay. That's in this section, the payments, right? The export and the right? The remittance, right? So likewise, different parties involved in the international trade, right? Unlike the domestic trade, right? Right. So then why we need the international trade? What is important, right? And tell me one by one. Why we need trade, especially the international trade? Right? Why we need import and export goods? So those are the imports, right, of trade, right? So one thing is the enlargement of the trading area, the market, right? So if we are producing for the domestic market, our market is in our geographical area, right? If we are exporting, right, so that means we are trying to expand the market, right? So that will increase the production one side, right? And as a result of that, it will generate economies of scale, right? Benefits, right? At larger scale production, right? So we can minimize the cost, right? Through the specialization and the division of labor, right? The benefits will generate as a result of that, right? So when we move to the international trade, right? So that means we are expand the market one side, right? Increase the production through the specialization and the division of labor, right? Because exporting, when we are joined to the international market, right? So we are trying to specialize particular product, right? And in order to produce more, right? Use some techniques, right? So, and the quality also we emphasize, right? And that will generate the benefits for the industry, right? And economies of scale, right? By lowering the cost, right, of production, right? And that is the one advantage of moving to the international trade, right? Enlarge the market, right? And as a result of that, experience benefits of that, right? And also the price, right? Lower the price and the greater choice, for the customers, right? If we are importing from the other countries, right, rather than producing in our own, right, we can import it at a lower cost, right? The benefit will pass to the customers, right? There are arguments, right? Because so rather than domestically produced, if we are exporting goods, right, at a lower goods, right, at lower price, right? So that may discourage domestic industries, right? That is one argument, right? That is called infant industry argument, right? Domestic industries, right? So at the initial stage, they need some sort of support, right? But if you are importing goods, those industries may badly affected, no, right? That is also there. But if you look at the large population, right, importing goods, right, at a lower cost, no, right, so we'll give them at a lower price, no, right, and that will improve the welfare of the customers, no, right, and that will give them more choice, no, right. So we can import different goods, right. We cannot produce all the goods domestically, no, right, right, and import those goods from the foreign market, no, right. And the choice is there, no, right. So that also improve the welfare of the public, no, right, giving more choice for them, no, right, preference for them, no, right, giving more preference for them. Right? So that is another thing, and the competition, no, right. So that will improve the competition, no, right. If we open up, no, right. So if there is a free trade, no, right. So the domestic industries and this imported good, there is a competition, no, right. So in the longer term, so that will be through the competition, right. So that will be benefited, right. So that will improve the quality of the products, no, right, and the production also, right. So those who survive in the business, no, right. So increase the competition, right. So that increase the efficiency over the longer term, right, and the quality. And we can some goods we cannot produce, no, right. So we can acquire those goods if we are engaged in the international trade, no, right. So now, for an example, the petroleum, no, right. We don't have the petroleum, no. Still, some investigations are going on, no, right. Certain areas, no, right. But so how we can use these products, no, right, with the help of the international trade, right. So the country can consume, right. People can consume, right, the goods they cannot produce local, right. And there may be the political advantages as well, no, right. So with the trade, no, international trade, developing linkages with the other countries, no, right. So that will form the political advantage, no, right. Those things go there, right. Right. So those are the reasons, right. So we can think about other so many reasons, no, there are, right. So why the countries prefer to engage in the international trade. To think about all these aspects. Well, right? Right. So what are the hindering factors? Right. So I'm going moving, right? So it's a bit fast, right? We have the presentation also, right? See the effective presentation, right? The appearance also see, right? Last slide, right? Which, right? Right. But all are homogeneous, identical, right? Color, right? Right. You see the presentation, how we make the difference in your group, right? Right. All are seen common platform, right? Like white, right? White and black, right? Okay. In the presentation, you can see how you make your presentation. So you make the difference in your group, right? All right. So now, even though now, right? Okay. Now we highlighted all these things, right? So people, the countries engage in trade, no, right? So that's why we identified the international trade as an engine of growth, no, right? Promoting growth, right? So, but there are some certain factors, right? Practically, right? So some barriers are there, right? So in practice, right? We can identify those things. This factor mobility, right? We cannot move the factors, right? Maybe, right? Right. When you talk about the international trade, right? So factor mobility, right? So that is one limitation that we observe in practical. Because so we know that it takes certain time, even though now we can analyze it economic point of view, right? Short run and the long run, right? don't run factors totally mobile, no, right? You cannot move, right? So even after sometimes in longer term, right, to some extent, factor can be mobile, no, right? But in certain industries, if we take the small industry, right, even if the long run, so it's very difficult to find the factors, right? And in the we can take into account these technological improvements, no, right? Right. So and improve the factors productivity, no, right? Right. With the technological improvement, right? And that is another aspect, no, right? So that facilitate for the trade as well, right? With the technological improvements, right? That increase the factor productivity, no, right? So we are increasing the trading, right? So we can highlight. But this factor immobility is one factor, right? That we also as a practice, right? So that limit the trade, right? And the transport cost, no, right? So as we highlighted, right? Multi-mode transportation systems use, no, right? National trade, right? Sometimes, even though now the international transport mode are becoming, there is a cost is declining, but domestic transport cost may high, no, right? So that is the problem, no, right? So in international, because we have to use the multi-mode transportation, no, right? International and domestically also we need to use those transportation systems, right? The problem is these domestic transportation modes is high costly, no, right? So that affects the trade, no, right? Relatively costly. Right? And the scale of the market, no, right? Now we talk about at the very first we mentioned with international trade, right? Why we engage in international trade to expand the market, no, right? And experience these economies of scale, no, right? Lowering the cost and more benefit pass to the customers, no? Their living standards improve like that, you know, right? But what happened in practical, no, right? Sometimes this even though we talk about the expand in the market, scaling the business, no, right? So that is not justifiable because some countries, right, impose restrictions, no, right? So sometimes because of the political reasons, no, right, impose limitations, no, right, ban the export from other countries, no, right, sometimes, no, right, right, right. Some limitations imposed, right, because if there is a, if the some countries discipline is not acceptable, if they violate the human rights and so on, no, right, some countries, right, impose restrictions, right, from the countries, right. So that will affect to the trade, right. So even though we produce, right, at a large scale, right, we cannot export, right, because of these decisions, political decisions, decisions taken by the different government based on the political factors, no, right. So that can help with the international trade, right, and the government policies, right. So sometimes now maybe the restrictions, no, right. So in order to as we mentioned, sometimes impose substitution industrialization policy, no, right? If the government move to the ISI status, you know, all the time limit the imports, no, right? Restrict the imports. If the country is running with some financial crisis, no, right? Foreign exchange crisis, no, right? Like we experienced last time, we banned more than 500 goods, no, imports, no, right? Right. So likewise, crisis situations, no, right? Maybe, right? So that will affect the free trade, right? As a part of the government policies, we can discuss. Right? So those are the practical things, reasons, right? So that limit the international trade, right? Okay. Okay, right. So then we move to the theories, right? So we basically talk about this absolute advantage, theory of absolute advantage, and the theory of comparative advantage. So what is the basic difference? Absolute advantage and the comparative advantage. What is the basic difference? The absolute advantage, we take the what we consider. We take the production cost, no? Right? Right. In comparative advantage, we take the relative cost, no? Right? That means the opportunity cost, no? Right? We compare the trading with other nations, no? Benefits, no? Right? Absolute advantage, we take the absolute cost, no? Right? That is the production cost. If one country can produce at a lower cost, no? Right? Right? Utilizing the resources, no? Right? Right? So minimizing the resource usage, no? Right? And produce high output, no? Right? So that country compared with the other country, no? Right? So that nation can have the absolute advantage. Comparative advantage means simply if the one country can produce at a lower cost, no? At a lower opportunity cost compared with the other nations, no? Right? So that country experience advantage for the trade take place, no? Right? The national trade can be executed, right? Okay, right? So now we will move to the first absolute advantage, right? Now that is the trade starting point of the trade, right? So first in the reduced absolute advantage, no? By the Adam Smith, right? In which year, in those periods, in 1776 and afterwards, no? Right? Absolute advantage, right? So before that, actually, that is come to the 16th, 17th centuries, right? There was an ideology that is called mercantilism, right? Mercantilism, right? I think, right? Sometimes we may have, right? So that is the starting point, right? Mercantilist ideas, right? The trade started with mercantilism, right? Mercantilism, the ideology is called mercantilism, right? Those people are called mercantilists, no? Right? Ideology is the mercantilism, right? Mercantilism. Mercantilism, right? So they actually talk about the trade, right? Trade with other nations, right? For the purpose of developing national state. National state, so how to develop national state? These stories are very, very nice, right, to hear, right? But the examination, right, there is all economic thoughts, right? Economics, if you are specialized in economics, right? So there is a subject called economic thoughts that talk about the from Adam Smith, right? Various economics, their idea, their ideologies, right? Different schools of economics. So how the economics evolve, right? Starting point up to now, right? So that is very good to hear, right? But very not answering the questions and examination is very difficult, right? History, right? Like history, right? Economic history, right? History of economics, right? So this method is right. So they talk about how to develop a national state. National state being a powerful nation. So during this period, now we know that this is the 16th, 17th century, right? Now, what sort of currency is used? evolution of the money, right? You are talking about the money evolution, no, right? Evolution of the money, right? Starting point, barter system, no, early, there is no money involved, no, right? Directly under the barter, no, right? Directly exchange, right? Without any intermediary. No? Later on, the money evolved, no, right? At the initial stage, when the money came into operation, right? Those money called primitive forms of money, right? You know that in hunting societies, pastoral societies, agricultural societies, people use different sort of money, right? Hunting society, they use animal parts, right? Agriculture stuff, no trading. So, right? Pastoral society, some other things, they something, no, right? Well, those are the commodities they were used in the early stage. Right? Later on, what happened? Money gradually developed, no, right? We moved to the metallic era. Metallic money we use. The metals are the valuable commodities, no, right? People use these gold, silver, copper, no, right? So those are the monies, no, right? In 16th, 17th centuries, that is the metallic era, no? People use this metallic money. Right? Those are precise metals, valuable commodities, no, right? So now what happened is mercantilists, they talk about how to develop the national state, powerful nations by accumulating this money, no, right? Metals, no, right? That's why they highlighted trade, right? That's why these different people move here and there in the world, no? Portuguese, Dutch people, no, right? When we talk about these colonies, no, right? They extracted the resource, no, right? Of those colonies, no, right? And accumulate their capital, no, right? To develop a powerful nation, no, right? That's why the British developed, no, as a powerful nation, no, right? From the colonies, no, right? So they extract all the resources, these valuable things, no, right? So through the trading, right? What they suggested, export more and import less, no, right? So that is the basic idea. That is, even though they highlighted the trade, international trade, that trade is different. What we talk about now, no, right? Now we are talking about free trade, but second is they talk about this under the idea that we don't develop the national state, powerful nation, right? Engage in the international trade. But that trade is highlighted as more export while discouraging imports, right? In order to generate surplus, right? Export promotion and import restriction. That's why they highlight the government also should be there, right? You know, restrict the trade, import trade. Right? So through that way, they talk about how to develop national state, no, right? So that is the early stages, right? People talk about the international trade, no, right? Capitalism, right? So working these ideas, no, right? 16th, 17th centuries, right? But later on, that idea, okay, right? We talk about free trade, no, right? Right? So that is the mercantilism started from the mercantilism, right? Now you know what is the basic idea of the mercantilism, no? Export promotion and import restriction, right? So that way they suggest to develop a powerful nations by accumulating precise metals, no, right? Metals, no, right? So because they argue the exports are the blessing, right? So export means we earn foreign exchange, no, right? Through exports we can get the metals, no, gold and silver. Right? Importing is that should be discouraged, no, right? So that means imports are means outflows, no, right? Right. Metals outflows, no, right? Foreign exchange outflows, no, right? That means that should be restricted, no, right? So that is the main policy highlighted by the countries, right? So kind of protectionism, no, that we talk about now, no? Protectionism policy, no, right? Highlighted by the countries, right? In order to develop a powerful nation, right? Benefits for our own purpose, no, right? That is something is selfishness, no, right? That we think about ourselves only, no, right? Not others, no, right? Try to get the more benefits from the trade, no, right? So that's why these restrictions are coming, no, right? Override the trade, right? So that period, actually during that period, people talk about this stable, static economy, static equilibrium, right? Economy is static, right? That is the basic beliefs at that time during those periods, right? That is the argument, right? Economy is stable, right? But Adam Smith criticized this stable argument, that is economy, right? And he explained that countries can engage in the trade, right? And get the benefit by engaging in international trade, free trade, right? Okay. So that is the argument, right? So, yeah, right. So basically, the Adam Smith criticized mercantilist ideas, no? Right? So we know that that is the classical economics, no? Right? Adam Smith is a classical, right? So you know that classical school, right? So that they have different ideology, right? Yeah. Ideology basically developed against the mercantilism, right? So that's why Adam Smith also criticized these mercantilist ideas, right? Static argument, right? And he explained the economy is not static, right? All the time, right? And the countries also should gain, right, by engaging international trade through specialization, right? That highlighted by the Adam Smith, right? So, know that Adam Smith, he explained this absolute advantage theory, right? According to that, nations can engage in the international trade, right? Based on the absolute cost, right? If those nations can produce at a lower cost, right? They can generate surplus, right? And the surplus can be exchanged with other nations, right? In order to import other goods and services, right? So thereby the countries can gain and all other countries can be benefited, right? So that is the basic idea of the absolute advantage, right? So that mainly depends on the capacity of production, right? What we can produce, no, right? Our capacity, no, right? We can produce at a lower cost, no, right? By minimizing the resource usage, no, right? So if we can use the resources at optimum manner, right? As we highlighted in the production functions, right? So that highlighted the absolute advantage, okay? So based on the capacity available with the nation, right? Based on the capacity means we produce goods at a lower cost, no, right? By utilizing the resources in optimal manner, right? So that explains the production function that we highlighted, no, right? So we highlighted the production function mainly depends on the labor, right? So that is the argument developed from here, no, right? Can you remember? We take the production mainly depends on the labor inputs, no, right? Capital is constant, no, right? So labor is the most important factor we highlighted in the production process. So here also take the labor as a homogeneous, right? Labor as the homogeneous, right? So here it's one country can produce more units of particular goods, right? Using the given level of resources, right? Or less resources utilization, right? Compared with the other nations, right? That nation has absolute advantage. If we can produce at a lower cost compared with the other nations by using the resources at their optimal manner, right? That country has absolute advantage. So there we take the cost, right? Relative to the other nations, right? Absolute cost, right? Now, that means if we can produce at another way, produce cheaply, right? Cheaply means at a lower cost, right? So utilizing the resources. Here takes the labor, right? So we take the labor only, right? So that is output mainly depends on the labor. That is something we talk about short-term production, right? If we can produce at a lower cost cheaply by utilizing the resources of optimum manner, right? So that country has the absolute advantage. Right? Okay, right. So what are the assumptions? We take here the two nations, two countries, right? So particular product, right? Commodity, right? So that means two nations produce two products, right? We take the tea and rubber, or maybe tea and the what you call another meat or something, or another country, right? For X and Y or something, right? And we take the constant returns to scale principle applied, right? And then we assume the perfect competitions. Labor theory of value. So that is the output mainly depends on the production, mainly depends on the labor, right? So that is explained by the labor theory of value, right? So that's why we take the production process mainly depends on the resources, right? The resources mean the labor inputs that we use, right? So that explains the labor theory of value, right? So now if we take the one nations, now we know that two nations are there, those are the two countries, right? So one country or the one nation can produce at a lower cost than the other nations, right? So that means the nation one has the absolute advantage in producing it, right? So as a result of that, they can produce more on that product and generate surplus that will be exchanged with the nation two, right? So nation two also producing accordingly, right? It has absolute disadvantage for the nation one, right? So those two nations can exchange goods, right, between them, right, based on the absolute advantage, right? Okay. So that is the basic idea, right? So if the one country or one nation has absolute advantage, that country specialize that product, right? So that will generate surplus, right? And that surplus should be exchanged with the other nation, right? So that is the basic idea coming under the absolute advantage. Okay. Right. Now, for an example, we can take so Sri Lanka, right? If you take the cashew, right? We can produce, right? Cashew, right? Efficiency and the quality, so high, right? But we cannot produce this apple, right? Right. Apple there, right? But it's like cool houses, right? Okay, right. So America is growing the apples, right? But inefficiently growing cashew, right? So those Sri Lanka and America can get into the trade according to the absolute advantage, right? Because Sri Lanka has absolute advantage in producing cashew, right? While America has absolute advantage in producing apple, right? But they have the absolute disadvantage in producing cashew. Therefore, those two countries can specialize, right? The products, right? So Sri Lanka can specialize the cashew, America can specialize the apple, right? And those two countries can enter into the international trade, right? So Sri Lanka exports cashew to America, right? America exports apples to Sri Lanka and exchange those two countries, right? With that expansion, right? So that is the case, right? Here, efficiency means at a lower cost, right? Producing at lower cost compared with that. Now, other things we can take as a result of that. Now we know that. Right. If we take this example, right? For an example, tea and vehicle, right? We take the two countries, Sri Lanka and South Korea. Right? So, Sri Lanka, we have used 100 kilograms, right? Tea, right? And South Korea produce 50, right? We take the millions or some thousands, right? And the vehicle units 50 and 100. Right? So you know the TPC production possibility production, right? If not this one, right? You can know the PPC, right? In the case of Sri Lanka, right? Here and the vehicles, right? Continue to access, right? So if you use all the resources, we can produce 100 units of tea and grow 50 units of vehicles. Right? So that is the production possibility, right? But Sri Lanka produced at the point A, right? One combination, right? So there we produce 50 units of tea and the 25 units of vehicles, right? And when it comes to the Korea, like South Korea, by the 50 units of tea or 100 units of vehicles, right? So the production possibility will explain, right? Two lines, right? And the producing at point B, 25 units of tea and the 50 units of vehicles, right? Right. Now, which country has absolute advantage? Producing tea and the vehicles. If you compare between Sri Lanka and the South Korea. Yes. We produce 50, 100 kilograms of tea, and when it comes South Korea, 50, no, right? It has the same resources. Right? So the vehicles, 50 units of vehicles by Sri Lanka, but when it comes South Korea, 100. So Sri Lanka has absolute advantage in producing tea, no, right? And South Korea has absolute advantage in producing vehicles, right? Right. So then what is the implication of that, right? So Sri Lanka produced tea, right? Specialized tea, no, right? And the South Korea specialized vehicles, no, right? And generate surplus, and that surplus exchange each other, right? So that is up to the international trade, right? How okay, right? So if you draw the joint, so it is the okay, right? Now if we combine the two nations, right? In the joint production, right? We can draw the one PPC based on that, right? So combining the PPC, right? And we can talk about the benefit, right? So we combine the this is the Sri Lanka PPC, right? The cell PPC, right? And when it comes to the South Korea, they produce 50. Okay. That means it's two PPC intersect, right? So that means that explain the two countries can exchange, right? Goods and services, there's absolute advantage, right? So, now, We combine these two, right? This is the combined PP. According to this, Sri Lanka specialized. So the currently now let's say Sri Lanka produce 50 units and 25 units, no, right? Before the trade, no, right? Before the trade, Sri Lanka produced 50 units and 25 units of vehicle, right? When it comes to the South Korea, they produce 25 units of tea and 50 units of vehicles, no, right? These are the production points before the trade, right? What happens now in Sri Lanka is specialized in South Korea is specialized vehicles, right? So, they produce something when it comes to Sri Lanka, but before the trade, Sri Lanka produced 50 units of tea, right? So now they specialize, they increase the production, right? Of tea, right? Specialization, right? And sacrifice 5 units, right? Okay. Once the Sri Lanka is specialized, right? So they increase the production, right? The specialization production increase, right? Tea production increase, only the tea special. But vehicle production decreased by 25. When it comes to the South Korea, they specialize the vehicles. Currently produce the 50, then with this specialization, they increase the vehicle production by 50 units. Right? Yes, yeah. Right? And they reduce the tea production, right? Okay, right, zero, right? 100% specialization, right? We talk about 100% specialization. Then we produce surplus, right? So we can take the benefits from right? How these countries before the trade and after the trade, what is the problem? How, right? So, right? Okay. So we take the hundreds percent and the 30 units of tea and the 50 units of vehicle, right? And the South Korea 50 units of tea and 100 units of vehicles per year, right? Either in this specialization, right? Around before the trade, they produce Sri Lanka produce 50 and the 25. South Korea produce 25 and the 50, right? With this specialization, they can increase the product, which has absolute advantage. Sri Lanka increase the production of the South Korea increase production of the right? So, you can see the how much they production. Right. So we can check this one, right? I will say anything here, right? So for the production, right? Production without trade, right? We produce Sri Lanka produce 50 and the 25, South Korea 25 as right? Production, right? Totally 75 and the 75. Okay. Total production before the trade. Production with trade, right? How much? Now we specialize, Sri Lanka specialize tea 100. Zero vehicles, right? South Korea, 100% specialization means vehicle. That's total production here, 100 and 100. What is the change? 75 to increase, right? Both are increasing, right? The tea production increased by 25 units and the vehicle production increased by 24, right? Total production increased by 50, right? Countries as well. And then, right? Right. Right. So then we can take the excess for the shortage, right? Without trade, right? So, you know, all countries produce the total 75, right? If we analyze the 50 and the vehicle 25 for Sri Lanka and the South Korea 5, vehicle 50, right? The total production is from T75 units and the vehicle 75. So we noted that combined PPC, right? Sri Lanka increased tea production from 50 to 100, no? Like changes plus 25 in the specialization, no? Right? Right? And reduce the vehicle production by 25. When it comes to South Korea, reduce the tea production by 25 days. With the specialization based on the absolute advantage, they increase the vehicle production by 50 units. Right? So here also we can take that 25, right? Total production increase nation by 50 units, right? Right. So that is the comparative or the absolute advantage, right? So based on the absolute cost, right? So when it comes to the comparative advantage, right? So here we need to account not the absolute cost, right? The production cost, right? But we take into account the relative opportunity cost, relative price, right? Relative cost, right? Relative cost, right? That is the opportunity cost of purchasing products among the nations. Right? We compare the opportunity cost, right? So if one country can or one nation can produce at a lower opportunity cost compared with the other nation, right? So that country has comparative advantage. Now, according to the absolute advantage, what happens if one country has absolute advantage in producing both products? What happens? According to the absolute advantage, we noted countries which has a lower absolute cost, right? Has absolute advantage producing, right? Compared with the other nation, right? So we suppose now one country or one nation has absolute advantage in producing both products. Then what happens? Can there be trade? There cannot be trade. There is no favorable environment for trade. Right? Trade is impossible in that case, according to the absolute advantage. Right? One country has absolute advantage in producing both products. Other country has absolute disadvantage in producing both products. Right? So trade cannot be take place between the nations according to the absolute advantage. But comparative advantage theory says, even though there is absolute advantage in producing both products for a nation, right? So they also the countries can engage in international trade based on the comparative advantage. Right? That is the situation. Right? Okay. So that means the absolute advantage is not necessary condition for international trade. Right? There should be a comparative advantage in order to make the transactions or the trade between the nations. Right? So that is an important concept. Right? The absolute advantage is not necessary condition, right? But comparative advantage is the necessary fact for trade between the nations. Right? And they have the gain from trade by engaging international trade. Right? Okay. Now here we have the two cases, right? And here we take the same one, right? But different way, right? Now we have the Sri Lanka and the South Korea, right? The tea introduced 100 kilograms, right? Vehicles 50 units, Sri Lanka, right? When it comes to the South Korea, tea 100 units and the vehicles 200 units. Here in this case, what happened? What you can see. Which country has absolute advantage? Yes. Which country has absolute advantage? Absolute advantage. Now, Sri Lanka produced 150. South Korea produced 100 and 200. So South Korea has absolute advantage in producing. Sorry. We come to the tea, right? Both countries are equal, no? Right? Indifferent, no? Right? But South Korea has absolute advantage in producing vehicles, no? Right? So South Korea has more advantage, no? Right? In producing products. So according to the absolute advantage, so based on the given information, there cannot be trade between the Sri Lanka and the South Korea, no? Right? Because when you come to the tea, both countries are equal, no? Right? So, but we can, if you calculate the opportunity cost, right? Relative cost. And identify both countries can engage in international trade based on the comparative advantage. Right? So we calculate for that opportunity cost, right? Sri Lanka and the South Korea. Right? So opportunity cost of tea means how we take Sri Lanka. Fifty divided by 100. Right? Because right, 0.5. Right? And when it comes to the vehicles, opportunity cost means 100 divided by 50. Right? Opportunity cost of T, right? In terms of vehicles, right? We calculate, right? Okay. So that is the, we take the T and the vehicles, right? T is 25, right? It's a profile of that, right? We take the cost of this, right? When it comes to South Korea, so it's 2, right? And the object cost of T in terms of vehicles. And the object cost of vehicles in terms of T, South Korea is 0.5. Lower opportunity cost. We take the lower opportunity cost more, right? In the Sri Lanka has the opportunity cost of producing the lower opportunity cost of producing tea, whereas the South Korea has the lower opportunity cost of producing tea, right? So as a result, we can say that Sri Lanka has the comparative advantage in producing tea, and the South Korea has the comparative advantage in producing vehicles, right? So that's how it works. But it's the both products, right? So then you situation, right? So if you plot the PPC curves, right? So it is not intersectional, right? Those two PPCs are not intersectional, right? Starting from the 100, right? In both countries, right? Usually. That means that also despite that there is no advantage, right? There is no intersection, right? But we see here the South Korea has absolute advantage in producing vehicles, right? But the D, both countries has its equal advantage. Right? So, but finally, we can order based on this relative prices or opportunity cost, right? Both countries can engage in the international trade, right? Based also comparative advantage. Okay. Right. Now here, like we mentioned earlier, right? We can think about the production. Okay. Here, what's the combined in the possibility, right? The B and the vehicles, right? Starting from 100, right? One. We take the India also, right? For the trade, right? Both countries, right? Sri Lanka produce 50 units of tea and the 25 units of vehicles, whereas the South produce 50 units of tea and the 20 units of vehicles. Now, Sri Lanka right? So as a result of this competitive advantage, right? Sri Lanka has the tea and the yeah. Advantage in producing vehicles, right? Okay, right. So can take this accelerator shortage, right? How much? Sri Lanka 50, 25, right? South Korea, right now is 25 to 50, right? So what is change, right? Now here 50 to 25, right? And 50 and the 100, right? So before the trade, right? Now Sri Lanka produced 50 units of tea and the 25 units of vehicles. South Korea, 50 units of tea and 100 units of Colombo, can take 125. With specializations, Srilanka like 100 units, not like, and the South Korea specialized 200. So this is the change, right? 100 does not change, right? So the D world output does not change, right? But the vehicles world output increased by 25. The exchange increases the output 75. Right? Right. With that, we move to the other one, right? So that is the comparative advantage, right? Now, based on the prices or opportunity cost, right? We can calculate, right? So these things are available, right? The limits, right? Okay. Right. So then we will just look at the terms of trade. What is terms of trade, right? Basically, that actually the relationship between the prices of exports and the imports, right? That actually measures the purchasing power of exports, right? Based on the price index, right? The how much, right? How many import units you can purchase based on the export, right? That actually gets the purchasing power of a unit of exports, right? Calculate that one of trade, right? Export price index divided by the import price index, right? UT, right? Purchasing power of export, right? Unit of export, right? So we know that if there is an improvement in the purchasing power, right? The improvement of the terms of trade, right? There will be anything the balance of payment situation, right? And the exchange rate as well, right? And give favorable effect on the balance of payment. Right? Price is the terms of trade, right? So that means that is good, right? If there is an increase in the terms of trade, because that implied the export price index increase, right? Right? Compared with the import price index, right? If this EOD rise, that is a favorable move, right? If there is a decline in the favorable terms of trade, right? So that is the deterioration, right? So that is the adverse effect, right? So rise in the terms of trade is a favorable effect. Decline in the terms of trade is the adverse effect. We have a negative impact on the balance of payment and the exchange rate. Right? So now basically the terms of trade, right? So that changes, right? Maybe due to maybe the change in the composition of the exports and imports, right? Rise in the export, right? And that is a good move, right? And the change in the prices of imports and exports that will affect the so here we take the price index of the right. So pricing. So now there is income terms of trade, another version of this, right? Based on the export volume of trade, right? We are not going to talk about that, right? Here we take only the based on the price index, right? Okay. But we can refer some textbooks, right? So there's another version, right? Income terms of trade, right? Here we take based on the price index, export price index, and import price index. Right. So finally, we'll talk about this protectionism, right? The protection, right? Now we talk about now all these theories, right? International trade. We talk about this absolute advantage, comparative advantage, right? There is another version of that, right? Texture oily theory, HO theory also there, right? So that is another theory, right? And another Samuelson theory, that some theories are there, right? But we are not comparing those theories, right? If you are specializing some national trade or international economics, right? So those things will be discussed, right? Under business economics, just we have this view about these trade theories, basic trade theories, right? Therefore, we look at only the absolute advantage and the comparative advantage, right? So all these theories highlight the free trade, right? In order to benefit for the member countries or the trading partners, right? But we see the restrictions imposed by the government, right? In order to get more benefit to their nations, okay? For the domestic country, right? So that's why we highlight this protectionism, right? Some protection, right? Basically, protectionism means to protect the domestic industry, right? So the government or the countries impose certain restrictions on the international trade. So therefore, we cannot see the free trade, right? Free imports and the exports, right? Between the nations, right? But with some restrictions, right? So that will happen, right? Among the nations, right? Because countries will try to get more benefit by engaging the trade, right? So benefit, and because of this country situations also, right? The macro environmental situations, or crisis situations, right? And the domestic industries, right? So those also affected, right? So when those countries go for these restricted policies, right? So that's why we highlighted these protectionism, right? So basically, the protectionisms we can highlight, right? Tariff and the non-tariff restrictions. The tariff is the famous instruments, right? Used to restrict the imports, right? Import tariffs, right? And there are other restrictions, right? Sometimes the quantitative restrictions, right? So there is some quota, right? Quota system. And the embargoes, right? So that means sometimes countries totally ban the imports, right? Embargoes, right? So they totally restrict import, right? And there can be exchange controls, right? So, that will limit the import and exports, right? And also this license requirements, right? When the license requirement introduced, that so that limit the import and export as well, right? And the standard regulations, right? Sometimes quality standards, health standards, those standards introduced, right? So therefore, those when we are importing or exporting, we need to meet those standards, right? So that limit the import and export, right? So those are the basic types of non-tariff barriers, right? So especially, I mean, under these, in practical, we see most of the countries these introduce quota, and sometimes they may go for the embargoes as well, right? And exchange controls commonly we see, right? So and the license requirements and standards, regulations, right? Those things also we see, right? So the quality standards, right? Trade. So that will actually restrict the import and export, right? All these things coming under the commercial policies, right? We talk about, right? Basically, tariff and the non-tariff barriers, right? Now, when we talk about this tariff, right? So, import from the international trade, right? So, you can analyze the effects of tariff, right? So, do you have any idea about the analysis of effect of tariff taxes? We discuss that one. To discuss this under the demand supply model. So that's why I mentioned the partial equilibrium analysis. We use the demand supply setup price model in order to analyze the effect of tariff. Right? Do you have any idea? Need to touch this the demand market model. On interventions in the economy, like minimum price, maximum price, tariff. Minimum price, maximum price. That's that one, right? Okay, right. So this is the tariff case, right? Okay, right. So the last one, right? Let me talk about today. Now we know that the demand supply model, right? So this is the one, right? For a particular product, take the product X, we give the supply, right? Now if we are the market, this is the equilibrium price determined, right? The product X. The content supply, right? Okay. Now suppose we are going to import this product, right? Now if we domestically produce, so this is the domestic supply. Right? This is the domestic supply. Yes, right? Domestic supply, right? Now we are with the free trade, right? So we are going to import this product, right? So how we incorporate that one into our model? So that means at a particular price, right? So that is the world market price, right? The domestic price is the equilibrium price, the BX, right? Okay, the price, the domestic market price. Why we are going to import, right? So we can see the possibility of importing this product from the world market at a lower price than the domestic price. Right? If there is as an advantage, right? We can import, right? So that's why we import this product, right? Otherwise, no need to import. If the world market price is above the domestic price, no need to import, right? So now we can say the price of the world market price, right? This is the PW, right? That is the world market price is below the domestic price. So we can import, right? So we can import any amount, right? And any quantity at the prevailing world market price. So this is the foreign supply, right? Foreign supply, right? So this is the domestic supply, this is the foreign supply, right? Because it's a perfectly elastic price curve, right? Because at the prevailing world market price, any quantity you can import, right? Perfectly elastic demand curve, right? sorry, supply, right? So suppose we are importing this product at PW price, right? So what happens? What happens? So the market price of this product is PX, right? And the domestic suppliers willing to supply QX amount, right? At this price, right? Now if we are importing this product, right? Now what happens? This is the domestic supply. Right? Supply B. This is the domestic supply. You touch the supply curve and you can see the quantity that the producers, domestic producers, willing to supply at the PW price, right? At the world market price, they cannot, most of these the domestic suppliers, they cannot afford, right? Because domestic price is the PX, right? At the lower price of the domestic suppliers willing to supply certain quantity. So that will discourage, right? Earlier they supply QX, now at a lower price, they supply USD. But at a lower price, there is high demand. Price reduced, right? Demand increase. This is the demand, right? This is the demand, right? So this is the demand for this product, and okay. So this is the demand, and this is the local supply, right? USD is the local supply, and this amount we are going to import, right? This quantity we are going to do the import. So PW into this area. Have the values, right? You can take the PW price into this quantity, right? So that you can import quantity, right? Right now, what happened? This is the quantity that we are going to import, right? Right. Now, government now since these domestic suppliers discourage, right? Government thought to impose restrictions, right? For this, right? So the government imposed tariff for this product, imported imports of product X, right? What happened? When the government imposed tariffs, what happened? Price increase, right? So from the world market price plus there's a tax, right? So the tax can be a percentage tax, right? We call it as volatile tax, right? Specific tax, right? Combined tax, right? So there can be different types, right? And volatile tax means certain percentage, right? 2%, right? 3%, like that. Specific tax means specific for the consignment, right? Government imposed 100 billion tax, right? Lump sum tax, that is called lump sum tax. Right? That means for the consignment for this import content, like government import the fixed amount of tax, right? 100,000, like that, right? Combined means there's a specific percentage also there, lump sum also there, right? So that it means T0 plus TY something. We take the income, right? That there is a combined tax, both two components are there, right? Tax rate, certain percentage charge from the tax rate, and there's a autonomous part also there, right? This is not the case, right? Likewise, right? So that kind of right? Now suppose government impose tax on this product, right? as a result of that price increase. Import price increase. Okay. Okay. Import price increase, right? So this is PW plus T. Okay. Okay. Yes, plus T. This is the big text. This curve shift upward. What happened? Oh, the price increase, no? Artificially price increase, no? Because of this direct, no? Right? So that will use an induce encouragement for the domestic suppliers to supply more. Right? Domestic supply increase. USD 1. Right? And at higher price, demand is reduced, no? Right? Demand for the product, QD price, right? Demand or discouraged, right? And when the price increase, what will be like that? So supply, domestic supply increase, consumption increase, no? Right? Demand increase. Now what happens? How much the import? This area is the import, no? Right? Earlier we import QSD minus QD area wasn't the import, right? Now what happens? It decrease, right? If the import, the import is continuous. There is a reduction in import, no? Due to tariff, no? Right? Import discouraged, no? Right? Import restricted, no? Right? That is happening, right? Now, this is the, what is this? So this is the import, right? Import quantity. This is the consumption. Decrease. Imports also decrease. With the production. Production increase, no? Right? Right. Domestic production increase, no? Right. What is this? What is that? So that is the price increase. This is the revenue for the government, no? Tax revenue. It's the tax revenue for the government, right? And what is this? Blue area. Shaded. What is that? That is called net weight loss. Is the net weight loss, right? Social cost, right? Owing to the tax. Social cost, external cost. No one benefited, right? No one gets, right? So this is the import, right? This is the production effect. So we can identify different effects. One is the production effect, right? Effects. Tariff, right? You can identify this production effect. As a result of tariff, right? What happened? Production, domestic production, encouraged, right? From here to here, right? and the consumption effect. What happened as a result of tariff? Consumption is challenged, right? Consumption is challenged. Is the area, right? And the trade effect. What is the trade effect? Import. Earlier imports and after the tariff, imports decrease, right? So earlier the import is this, right? This whole data imports, right? After the tariff, what happens? So this is the imports, right? Trade effect, right? Imports decline, right? And the revenue effect. Revenue effect, that is the tax revenue, right? Increase, right? So the government tax revenue increase, right? It's the net. That is right. They know the tax revenue effect. And the other one is social effect. Social effect. There are two social effects we see, right? What happened? World market price is PW, right? Due to imposition of tariff, right? Price artificially increase up to PWT, right? So as a result, we see the domestic production is increase, consumption decrease. So we see this due to distortion, price distortion, right? The effect of production, right? That is, this social cost arise due to misallocation of resources for the production, right? So this is, so there is a misallocation of resources for the production, right? So this artificially we can, the world market real price is PW, right? Because of the tariff price increase, artificial, right? So there is a inducement, right? It is not efficient produced, right? By local, right? So there is a misallocation of resources for the production, right? Given by this way, right? So here, misallocation of resources, right? Here, distortion of consumption, right? Because if we consume at world market price, people consume high. But due to this price inducement, artificially discourage consumption. Right? So that is the consumption effect, right? Distortion of consumption, social effect of distortion of consumption, right? So the two effects we can identify, right? Those in the area, in the social cost, that is called debt weight loss, right? That's a loss, right? So one will be entertain those costs, right? And government or the producer or the consumer, right? So one entertain. So that is the social cost, right? So we can identify those effects, right? So those are the application of tariff, right? Effect of tariff, right? So this is a kind of partial equilibrium analysis. Partial equilibrium analysis. So in microeconomics, right? You know that, right? We are looking at the market, the kind of, right? The kind of partial equilibrium. Like general equilibrium, macroeconomics, right? Can identify those effects, right? Now, within the protectionism policy, right? Post tariff, right? So, as a result of that, we see there is a what's restricted, right? What restricted, right? And we see the other effects as well, right? Which is the activities. That's actually Is it clear? Right. And now that is the partial analysis of talent type and identify the right. Okay, right. So that is the end of this session, right? So we just overview the theories and the other things, right? That we will conclude that the part, right? So we have to discuss this balance of payment, right? Also linked with this trade, right? And the exchange rate. And today we will talk about that, right? If you have any questions, you can ask. Do you have any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, right? So we can take the break, right? After the break, right? We will go to the presentation, right? First, we start from the online. So we have the online group, right? So I think they will check with this, right? And to is the first group, right? As you mentioned in the group six, right? There are 3, 4, 5 members, right? So then we move to the other group. So there are altogether 6 groups are there, right? 15 minutes allocate for your presentation, right? So if there is any doubt, I will ask some questions, right? But I will ask questions, right? But you can make your presentation in a good way, attractive way, right? The audience, right? So, you see the difference presentation, right? So I think right now, according to the continuous assessment, right? So I hope to allocate marks for the continuous assessment like this way, right? Now the your group assignment will be accredited more, right? 15 marks will be given for group assignment and presentation 10 marks, right? And then MCQ test 15 marks will be given, right? And online we have 2 online questions, right? Research classroom one week for submission, right? But some of the students asked me regarding the first question that I have given to you, right? So some of you have not studied these derivatives and so on, right? But I will pay more attention on the second discussion, right? 10 marks allocated for that, right? But those who submitted the first quiz, right? I will give without looking at the content 2 marks for that. Right? That will be given 2 marks for that, right? Those who submitted, right? It was because when I look at your second question, even you recorded very lower marks, right? You have not attempted, right? Just give the answers, right? That is not sometimes the content is not actually justifiable, right? The questions, right? So I can't remember the question, right? And I remember the question that I given second, right? Something therefore, I will give the 2 marks for all the groups, all the members, right? Bonus, right? Those who submitted the first quiz, right? You will be given 2 marks. Then the second one will be some marks will be added. Yeah, right? So 10 marks will be given for that, okay, right? So now this group presentation, 10 marks will be given, right? So therefore, you can make your presentation, right? You need to use your skills, right? Whiteboard also there, right? And like participants, they can use their own platforms, right? And the screen also there, right? You can use the different modes, right? And you need to maintain the flow as right. Thank you, right? And the content analysis, the conclusion and the recommendations will be given, right? So will be given certain marks, analysis, flow, right? Presentation skills, right? And the conclusion recommendations, those those things in the event, right? Okay. So after the break, can can you come 10 minutes? Can you come within 10 minutes? Okay, because now the 10:30, right? Okay. Right? We'll start the presentation 10:45. Like participants, you can make your presentation by you know the time, the priority was good. Okay, those who are in the online, can you hear me? Atnaik, can you hear me? And the Pangodas? Can you hear me? Can unmute your mics. And you need to switch on your
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Here.
Okay, so you are making your presentation, right? You will be given the first opportunity to make your presentation, right? So on the topic, right? So please switch on your videos, right? And the mic also, right? We can hear you, right? And you can you can share the screen as well, right? Okay.
Okay, sir. Sir, shall we start?
Wait, I will, once I announce, we can start, right? So now the break is given, right? After the break, we will start the presentation, okay?
Okay, sir.
Can you ask them to come? Others? If they are right now with the time. Yes. Yes, the audience must be there or else they are able to presentation. Okay. Okay, we are working. So now you will be given 15 minutes, right? So our first actually according to the conditions that I gave to you, right? At least 3 members in each group, right? Must present your facts and figures, right? According to the given topic, right? So you will be evaluated, right? The group presentations and marks will be given in certain aspects by covering the all content, facts, analysis, and your presentation skills, and also your report conclusions and the recommendation based on that, right? So online group, right? I will invite the first online group to make their presentation, right, on the given topic, right? Reports of the relevance of the business economics to solve the current economic problems and the prevailing economic situation. So I will invite the first group online groups to make their presentation. Over to you. You can switch on your videos, right? All the members in the group. Can't see partly, right? Anyway, you can start your presentation. You can.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Good morning to everyone. Today we will discuss the important role of business economics in the current Sri Lanka economic challenges. Sri Lanka is currently dealing with challenging economic crisis resulting from mismanagement and external factors, political instability, and social tension, and ongoing effect of COVID-19 pandemic. And then we focus on importance of business economics. In tough times, business economics is important. It helps smart decision making for businesses. It also assists the understanding about the customer behaviors in the challenging market. Plus, they are playing critical role in planning, protecting business in future. And when moving to the next slide, we will discuss implementing business economics for sustainable growth. We will discuss this under two categories: utilization insight and optimization resources. Utilization of insight, utilizing insight in today economics business to success. It helps to business understand like GDP growth, customer behavior, prediction of trend of the market, smart choices, and then businesses can quickly adapt accordingly. And when discussing about optimizing resources, good financial planning, money management important in those days. Business should be spend their money wisely to stay in the environment steadily. As a conclusion, in Sri Lanka's economic context, using the business economics is not just theory, but what to do. It helps business deal with problems now growing in long run. And my colleague discuss about the challenges of business from here. And
Thank you, Inpas. Good morning, everyone. So then, this current crisis is in Sri Lanka.
Please switch on video.
So,
Okay.
In current crisis in Sri Lanka, it's not only the issue with this economic factors. They are having few more other factors as well, like we have economic issues and political issues and the social issues also as well. So when we talk about the first is economic issues, then we can consider about this. We have a high amount of debt and we have this negative trade balance. That means our export is more than our export is less than our import. So and this currently we are facing for the currency depreciation. So these are the economical impacts on our business. Because of these things, we are having the inflation and this reducing the consumer spending, and our supply chain also disrupt. The previously we have imported the cars. Now we suddenly stop that one. Because of that, we have our inside the country, our whatever the used vehicle price goes very high. So then they are having the exchange rate also, some different depreciation was there previously. There was I remember that in around 2019 we had 180 exchange rate. Now it's coming 360 plus. So because of due to this one, that whatever the current loan we haven't taken, it was increased due to this inflation rate. So such cases drive to this financial stress for the inside the country. And other than that, there is some political changes also. This political also in here. What we are facing, that lot of corruption is there. So whatever the money we are earning inside the country, that politicians are stealing that money. So because of that, there will be a social impact. This people that inside because of this inflation, this all the people, that common people, what they are earning is not sufficient to reimburse their expenses and the current status. So because of that, there will be a lot of protest, strikes, and this cost of living is going high. So in the current situation also, now the government officers, they are now doing the like a kind of protest to increase their salary by 20,000. That is the latest news what we have. So these are the social impacts on the in the country. regarding these economical issues what we are facing now. So this everything will impact to our when it comes to the business, when everything will come effect to the business, that because of this higher rising of cost of living, the companies that business, their supply will be there, but the demand will be reducing. So likewise issues we will have. So I like to talk regarding this in further. I like to invite our friend Sumadura. You can continue.
Then unmute.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dan. In this overview, we look at the 5 key focal areas to the success and sustainability of an organization. And first one is demand analysis and forecasting. It enables business to understand customer need, customized products, and plan production efficiently. And demand analysis contribute to identify the several elements such as price, income, consumer taste, and it's helped to provide direction for managing demand. And demand forecasting is a method of predict future demand for product and service. It provides organization to make smarter supply decision that estimate total sales and revenue in the future, as well as a guide in production planning or inventory management and strategic decision making. Secondly, cost and production analysis. By analyzing the cost output relationship, it's supposed to in optimization of pricing strategies and resources allocation. Concept like fixed cost, variable cost, and cost curves such as average total cost, average marginal cost are essential. Production and cost analysis help business understand the relationship between input and output and make smarter pricing, production, and resources allocation decisions. And third one is pricing decision and policies. It is essential for income generation with different strategies offering various objectives. There are several basic pricing strategies like penetration pricing, price scheming, value-based pricing, and premium pricing. Pricing policies such as price discrimination, promotional and discounted policies define what marketplace pricing is possible for market commodities. Pricing guidelines help business keep profit by allowing them to sell different products separately. And fourth one is profit management. That balancing income and customer relation through cost control, pricing strategies, and product mix optimization. Then techniques include techniques include cost management, pricing strategies, product mix analysis, and cash flow management. Then last one is capital management. This is addressing capital investment challenges with focus on cost reduction and efficient allocations. It involves cost analysis, cost reduction techniques, cost allocation for pricing decisions, and recognizing primary cost drivers to cost saving effort. And there are major focal areas of business economic. And then my colleague Sumbudra will continue with the business model for focal areas. Sumbudra.
Thank you, Ratnayaka. Good morning, all of you. Now let's see how linking focal areas with the new business model. First, let me start with demand analysis and forecasting. Traditionally, we look at past data and used math to predict what people would want. But now we have to press approach. We are using real-time data and smart computer algorithms to tell us what's demand before anyone else knows. This helps us plan better. Next, now let's move to the second focal area, that's cost and production analysis. In the past, it was all about cutting cost and making things in straight line. But now we are thinking differently. We want to be sustainable, thinking about the environment and how we can use resources wisely. It's not just about today, it's about the lasting approach that benefits everyone. Now let's move to the third focal area, that is pricing decision policies and practices. Old style pricing was often about rules like adding cost or following what others do. Today we can be more flexible. We can change prices based on what's happening right now. This way we can make money while also being fair to our customers. Moving to my fourth focal area, that is profit management. Profit isn't just about money anymore. We care about our impact on society and the world. So in our new approach, we balance making money with doing good. As my final focal area, that is capital management. In the past, we mainly got money from banks or investors, and our focus was on making lots of money fast. Now we are looking in different places for funds, and we want to make money responsibly, thinking about society and the environment too. Please welcome Farhan to continue our presentation. Thank you.
Hi everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, Sumudra, can you move the slide? Next slide, please. Yeah. So my part is all about my colleagues, all the colleagues are discussed about this all the Sri Lanka economic crisis and how business economics help to overcome these challenges in unstable or instability situation. So as a summary, I can say business can adjust strategies according to customer preference and market trend through the understanding of demand. I think my colleagues explain you more in this one. So it will be go for the better forecasting for production and inventory management. And second point is cost and product analysis. So it will be help to make the informed decision regarding the prices and resource management, especially in the time of recession. Third point is pricing strategies, as is earlier discussed, like a different pricing, market penetration, market skimming, value-based pricing. Organization can follow based on the ideal situation, based on the situation. And fourth thing is profit management. Profit management is not only the profit financial growth, also ethical practice and social responsibility, and ensuring the cost control and pricing and proper product mix for the long-term success. And finally is capital management, how we can use the banks and all the stuff and banks and also capital markets and foreign borrowings. So reduce the risk of them and get the optimum funding for the investment, and also use of the IT in terms of IT for AI also. And yeah, and next page, please. As a conclusion, this we explained to you how this business economics help to give us a structured approach to address the multiple challenges faced by Sri Lanka over the last 1-2 years, and providing strategies for recovery and stability, as we discussed. That is our final. That's all, sir.
Okay, Thank you very much for your presentation, right? Your group. I have one question from us to you, right? So anyone can respond to that. So Marsha, you can respond since we conclude the session, right? I think, right? So as a conclusion, right? So now we have mentioned this capital budgeting and the profit management, right? So right, as a part of that, right, under this the turbulent environment, crisis situation, right? So what sort of now profit management once we come to the profit of the organization, right? So what do you think? Is it now profit management? Is it the main objective of the firm under this crisis, or any other objectives can be highlighted according to this crisis situation, rather than managing the profit or profit maximizing? What is your opinion? They can't hear you. You can unmute.
As a country right now, Sri Lanka, the profit maximization, actually business need to be survive first. At least if it is like because the cost of living is increasing and there's a high number of skill migration happening. So the company should retain their key employees. That is the prime objective. So when they retain the key employees, they have to increase their salaries and they have to go with the other benefit like social benefit, like they are having discounts and everything. Also for the strategic people, long-term benefit like shareholdings and like EOS can be given. So first of all, they want to retain and they want to ensure that the companies are running in the break-even and not for optimum, not for the profit maximization. We are facing a hard time, so we can pass this hard time with the minimum profit and meeting the what you call employees. And also they can go with the more innovation by using AI. They can reduce the cost, and also the advanced production technique they can reduce. That's the main objective, rather than profit maximization.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation, right? So, and maybe we'll move to the other one, right? So then the second group, we'll invite the second group, right, to make your presentation. Group number 2. See what we can use in white. You can pick there. Yes, this one.
Good morning, all of you. Our presentation topic is the role of business economy under the economic crisis in Sri Lanka. So we are going to discuss about the overview of economic crisis and the affected business areas and business model, as well as our recommendations. So in this presentation highlights the significance of business economies under economic crisis in Sri Lanka. So we will discuss the macro and microeconomic effects under hyperinflation and impact from COVID-19, and that for foreign exchange reserve as well as currency depreciation. So business economics helps to take decisions in business sectors of their production, inventory management, and marketing campaign. So by analyzing, forecasting demand, analyzing costs, and setting prices in the necessity of the business environment. So we are going to discuss about the overview of economic crisis, hyperinflation. Hyperinflation has impacted the Sri Lankan economy in various ways. So it has impacted decline the demand because of the pricing changes, and that has impacted lead to reduce the production. And when the production is reduced, it has impacted the unemployment. So in 2022, they have stated as 6.7%. So we can state some reasons for the hyperinflation, mainly COVID-19 pandemic situation. It has disrupted the whole global supply chain. As Sri Lanka is importing a lot of raw materials for production, we are not able to continue our production as we expected. So war in Ukraine has impacted the increase the oil prices and energy prices. So it is we are not able to move on for other resources, energy resources in a short time, in short term. Also, government policies such as money printing has directly impacted the inflation in Sri Lanka. So in this line chart shows the average inflation rate. Horizontal side shows the orders and vertical side shows the average inflation as a percentage. So up to 2021, quarter it shows as below 5%, and after that it has started sloping upward. And according to the central bank government website, we can see 49% average percent. That's the highest inflation rate in Sri Lanka. So after that, it started to slow down because of the decisions taken by the government. They have increased such as increased the interest rate. Year of production and cost explain how within different entities input cost has been increased as well as output cost has been increased. So as an example, fertilizer ban has impact to the significant for the production of fertilizer agriculture sector to reduce the production and for food shortage.
President, who are going to talk about another economic policy, COVID-19. COVID-19 is the country both Sri Lanka, both directly and indirectly. Indirectly, in fact, we can recognize decline tourism and water habitat, supply chain. In indirect in fact, we can recognize as the increase in unemployment and increase in inequality. Also, the Lanka economy shows that risk due to urban main factors, China's slowdown, global growth weakening, and internal lockdown. In China, due to China's slowdown, Sri Lanka exports was increased 25%. 25.3% and 2022 21.7%. Due to this import due to China's lockdown, Sri Lanka economy was interrupted to imports. It is more difficult and expensive. In the lockdown also impacted negatively, including unemployment increase and export decline. Sri Lanka has the economic. The graph shows the gradual decrease about gross domestic product. It is finally slowed down in the 2020 and his value minus 3.6. Sri Lanka economy is expected to recover from the COVID-19, but it is slow and challenging. Sri Lankan economy is the Sri Lanka government will need to take steps to address the structural weakness in the economy, such as export and tourism.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to describe guiding and saying current state and the current implication of Sri Lanka. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the Sri Lankan forestry and reserves. foreign exchange resource to the country have towards unpredictable level due to the last 1.5 years, which improvement of investors' confidence and after the 30 years conflict and political conditions the country. Latest report submitted by the government shows that fund supply of the country has increased year to year by 34.7 USD billion in July 2023. In the same time, domestic credit is 54.4 billion USD, and it is an increasement of 3% year to year. And non-performing loan ratio stood at 4.5% in December 2021 compared to 4.9% in previous year. And in this line chart, shows that foreign exchange reserve for Sri Lanka from 2019 to 2020, how is behaved. From you can see 2019 from 2019 up to 2020, it has been decreased rapidly because of government have used these reserves to buy the medicine of for COVID-19, and also import country imports are outpacing the export, and Sri Lankans who live in overseas sending money to less money to Sri Lanka. And after 2022, it is slight increasement. So that mainly reason is funds from IMF and anti-restriction of imports, and also country have encouraged to exporters to in the to more exporters in the country. Next, I will talk about the currency depreciation in Sri Lanka, and as a result of economic crisis, Sri Lankan rupee has been significantly depreciated against the US dollar like never before. It affects to Sri Lankan export less competitive in the global market. And this table shows that the between lower rate and high rate, how the Sri Lankan rupee have behaved against the US exchange rate in current year and last 3 years. In 2022, you can see there is a high increasement, high depreciation rate like 46%. Mainly, the reason for depreciation is government have holding the exchange rate for a long time and maintaining interest rate lower than the inflation, and a huge gap between import expenditure and export income. And that's all I had of Lanka.
How impact the prices on business sector. We have taken two business sectors. First one is textile industry. Second one is tourism industry. Now we are going to explain about the textile industry. This is a very important industry because it is equivalent to over 40% of export income and over 100,000 data. But unfortunately, this industry have to issue particular difficulties into the Sri Lankan economic crisis. As difficulties in importing necessary raw materials and the fallen prices days. Other one is foreign exchange prices. When importing necessary raw material, it is directly interesting the business. Other one is unemployment. It is by 130 in just 2 months due to COVID-19 and 2021 because of month. Other one is migrate post of Sri Lanka. It is increased by 50% between 2020 and 2022. There are advantages and disadvantages. Advantages increasing relevance to increase the foreign reserve. And other one is disadvantage. This lack of skilled employed is directly impacting the business sector. Otherwise, it is in there. And it's related